And joining us now on our Book Talk segment, great to welcome a woman who's written a really interesting book. It's a baseball book, but a bit of a twist to it. It's called A Game of Their Own, Voices of Contemporary Women in Baseball. It's about a team of women ball players that played in the World Cup of Baseball. We'll find out about it. And we're joined today by Jennifer Ring. She's based out in Reno, Nevada. And Jennifer, good to talk to you. How are you today?
I'm fine, Doug. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, I know you've written a previous book on baseball, women playing baseball. Right, but this one is kind of featuring really the background and the individual stories of women on Team USA. I guess sad to say they didn't get a lot of press about it, so probably a lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah, they need someone to write about them. Yeah, no, the first book was Stolen Bases, which was published about 6 years ago, and that was raising the question and giving some history on why women don't play baseball, since all signs point to the fact that they actually invented the game in England and were very enthusiastic players when it arrived in the United States, and then were pushed out. So the title of that book is Stolen Bases, and this book, I realized my work wasn't done, and I needed to talk to the women who are really elite baseball players right now and represent the United States for USA Baseball.
You tend to think, and you see it on TV, mostly the women's games that they put on are the softball. But you don't really expect women to be playing organized baseball, but a lot do, right?
A lot do, but not as many as would like to. The whole impetus in this country is that to segregate, to have a, quote, separate but equal game for girls, but the girls who want to play baseball don't think softball is equal. It's a different game. Mm-hmm. And the puzzle is why a game that girls have loved for so long is, and which is called the American National Game, why they are basically shunted out of it. They're allowed into Little League and have been since 1973, but they had to sue for that privilege, and there have always been individual girls playing with boys, but what's missing really is organized baseball for girls that would bring them along from the minute they want to play. And for the girls in my book, the women in my book actually, they loved baseball. They loved baseball as soon as they picked up a ball and bat, which usually happened when they were 3, 4, 5 years old. So just like boys, it's a great game, and they all get shoved out by the time they're 12, and they can play Little League. They're usually the only girl on the team, and they do fine with that, but if they want to continue, they have to be usually the only girl on the team in middle school and in high school, and in college it's really hard. So the question is how these 10 women who are the starting lineup of Team USA 2010, who went to Caracas, Venezuela for the World Cup tournament there, how did they survive in baseball? How did they get to be as good as they are?
Yeah, we're going to say that the girls that did play Little League, they might play 2 or 3 years when they're, like you said, 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. Then you get into the high school years, it's a different situation. There's no girls' baseball in high school, as far as I know, even today, right?
There's really no organized baseball in high school. There are increasing opportunities because a lot of girls want to play. Actually, there are about 12 or 1,300 girls who do play high school baseball, but they're always the only girl on the team.
Right.
And that's that's tough. It's tougher emotionally, I think, than it is athletically, because these are really elite players. And what I would like to see is organized baseball for girls from Little League up, just like the boys have, as an opportunity. They're not all asking to be, Division I college baseball players, although some of them I think could be and want to be, but they'd rather play with girls and boys, but there's no choice if that's the game they prefer.
Yeah, I would think baseball, for the most part, maybe pitching you could say, men are able to pitch faster, although I could be wrong about that, but every other position, I think women could probably play pretty much as well, right? Fielding, running.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my daughter, who is one of the ball players in the book, played mostly. Most of these girls actually have only played with boys until they get to Team USA, and they go, whoa, there are other girls in this country who play baseball, and they're good. But my daughter, who has played both with women on Team USA and with boys in Little League, boys in high school, and she was on college teams as well. And she says it's the boys' game is faster and harder.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question that by the time they get to high school and college, they're hitting the ball harder and throwing further, and the pitches are faster. But she caught up with the pitching, and women who play with men on that level usually need to use off-speed stuff. They rarely can blow a ball by at 80 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour, 90 miles an hour, but they can be effective. And if you think about baseball, much less than football or basketball is size a factor. And you've got Dustin Pedroia and David Eckstein, and then you've got Pablo Sandoval and Mike Trout. You know, I mean, it's a game. I think part of the appeal is people can always see themselves on the field. There's always someone who is, built like them, who's not some kind of, giant.
Yeah, basketball, obviously you have to have the height. Football, you have to have a certain weight to succeed at it. But you're right, baseball, you can be any size for the most part, and be able to play. Talk a little bit about, I know you wrote about, 10 of the different women on this team. First of all, how did you contact them? Were they receptive to talking to you? And maybe give a story or two of how they, kind of got to that level.
Oh, yeah, they did. It was such a wonderful experience. I mean, I got to them because my daughter plays, and she was, every year of her life past Little League was a battle to stay in the game, and but I got to know her because she was playing not only on the U.S. national team, but also on in recreational baseball. There are women's teams, and she played on the New England Women's Red Sox, where most of the Team USA players also play in their off seasons, when they're not on USA Baseball. So I knew the girls because they were teammates, and I knew their parents because we were all in the stands being nervous. And so but there really are a lot of women who play, and my first thought for this follow-up book was I need to find out, the stories of every girl who plays baseball, and that soon became impossible because there are hundreds of them. And so I thought it's better to just go in depth with these women who I know who are undisputedly the best women baseball players in the United States, and so I didn't have to convince a readership that they were good. They simply are the best players. And I also knew them because they are great young women. They could tell a story. They can make you laugh. They were self-aware. They range in age from 20 to 40, and so, most of them really have some perspective on themselves and their lives. So I asked them if they'd be willing to participate, and I got grants from my university and from the American Women's Baseball Federation and from Sabre, actually, gave me a grant to travel around the country to meet them in their homes and take their oral histories. So I sent them all a list of questions and said they didn't have to follow the questions, but it would make it a little more consistent throughout. And I met with each of them in their homes, or a couple of them we had to meet in hotel rooms at baseball tournaments, and talk to them for hours, some of them days, just as long as they wanted to talk. And these are strong women who have been doing things that, playing a game, the national game that people keep telling them they shouldn't be playing. And at some point or another, we cried in every interview. There was a moment that just got real emotional, and some of them, some of them said to me, I have never talked about this stuff before, and, kind of were surprised at what was coming out. And those are the stories. It was just such a privilege to have them share it, and not one of them turned me down. I had a bench, right? There was a second team waiting, but the first team stepped up. So.
No, not to sound sexist, as most guys tend to when they talk about women in sports, but when you watch some of these games, and it's always been thought, women can't throw as well. Have you watched some of these women pitch, and how do they pitch? I think that's the question a lot of guys would probably have.
Pitching, right? Like velocity?
Right.
They pitch, the best team in the world, I have to say. I mean, I don't want to get slammed for saying this, but it's the Japan women's Team Japan in women's baseball is just nearly impossible to beat, and the United States is, trying, and the other two good teams are Canada and Australia. It's always those four in the finals, and Japan pitches off-speed stuff. I'm sure men would call it junk. Actually, the women call it junk too. But it's unhittable. It's really hard to get a bat on the ball, and they're smaller women than ours. We have American NC2A Division I athletic women, so
right.
They're big and they're trained, so the pitching tends to be more off-speed, and definitely I have not seen a woman throw in the 90s, but I certainly have seen women hit in the 90s off men. Yeah. And I've seen women catchers catch 90-mile-an-hour fastballs from men when they were working out with them or playing on their teams. I think the day is coming. I think if we encourage girls to play baseball, they're going to start throwing in the upper 80s and the low 90s. Because the game improves every year, and the more girls that play, the more. I mean, think about this. They get shoved out of baseball and have to fight for a place on every team they're on after age 12. Now, if we actually encouraged them from age 6, like we do the boys, and taught them and coached them consistently throughout middle school and high school and college, if they can throw 75, 80 miles an hour now, I have a hunch that some of them would learn to throw as fast as men can. Mm. And not all men can pitch that fast either.
No, that's true. You're right.
So, and I think that, there are a couple of questions. One is, could women play with men on elite levels? Is there going to be a woman major leaguer? And I have no doubt that there will be sooner or later, probably, in the next generation or two. I mean, look at the fuss that was made over Monet Davis.
Right.
And she wants to play basketball. She's not even committed to baseball. But I think the other question is something like the NBA and the WNBA. Would people enjoy and pay to play women's baseball? And, it might be a slightly more small ball kind of game, but I have been watching it for my daughter's entire life, and it's thrilling. I mean, it's just great baseball. It's pitching that's hard to hit. It's scores that are sometimes low and sometimes high, just like the men's games. They're turning double plays. They're making diving catches. They are, they play real baseball. And if someone loves baseball, it's, to me, as exciting as anything I've seen on a major league or a college field that are played by men.
Yeah. Well, it's an underreported story, but I'm glad you've written now a couple of books about it. This one's called A Game of Their Own, Voices of Contemporary Women in Baseball. We've been talking with Jennifer Ring today. And Jennifer, I know a book just coming out, published by University of Nebraska Press. Do you have a website you want to direct people to? Get a hold of you, the book?
There is a website which is called The Shutout, actually,
okay.
Which is the name of the book before it was changed late in the game to A Game of Their Own. But otherwise, the University of Nebraska website has it. Amazon has it. It should be readily available at all the usual outlets.
Great, and we also post on our website a place people can order it as well. And Jennifer, really appreciate you taking a few minutes. Again, great job on the book. And I know if you have another project out, please let us know. We'll have you back on again.
Thank you so much, Doug. This has really been a pleasure.
If you'd like to order the book we're talking about, please go to dougmilesmedia.com and enter the author's name in the Amazon search box. Thank you for listening. Please come back soon for more conversations here at dougmilesmedia.com. This has been a presentation of Doug Miles Media, all rights reserved. You can listen to or download previous programs at iTunes, Stitcher.com, or Doug Miles.